I'm 32, married to my husband Ryan, who's 34. We've been together for 8 years, married for 5, and for most of that time, I believed we were equals. We both worked full-time, me as a marketing project manager and him as an IT consultant. We bought a small house together in the suburbs, split the bills, and promised we'd always be a team. That phrase, "we're a team," used to sound like reassurance. Over time, it started to sound more like an excuse. At first, things really did feel balanced. We both cooked, cleaned, and handled errands. But after my job switched to a hybrid schedule, something shifted. Ryan started assuming that being home meant I had more time. It began with small things, him asking if I could throw his laundry in, since I was already doing mine, or if I could start dinner so we could eat earlier. He always phrased it like a favor, never an expectation, but the favors started stacking up. Soon my evenings were full of cooking, laundry, dishes, and grocery lists. Ryan would come home, drop his keys on the counter, and relax on the couch while I handled everything around him. When I pointed out how uneven it felt, he'd laugh it off, saying couples shouldn't keep score. If I pressed the issue, he'd pull out that familiar line, "We're a team." I started noticing other things too. Our joint account for shared expenses would come up short because Ryan forgot to transfer his part. I'd cover the difference to avoid late fees, and when I brought it up, he'd say, "You're better with money anyway." It sounded like a compliment until I realized it meant he didn't plan to change. Weekends were supposed to be for both of us to unwind, but they turned into my catch-up days. While he played games or met friends for golf, I'd be scrubbing the bathroom or meal prepping for the week. When I asked for help, he'd act confused, saying he thought I preferred handling those tasks. His family didn't help either. At dinners, they'd joke about how lucky he was to have a wife who keeps everything together. He'd smile, proud of the compliment, never seeing how uncomfortable it made me. One evening, I came home from work and found the sink full, the counters sticky, and Ryan napping on the couch. I woke him up and asked if he'd at least handle dinner. He grinned and said he thought we could order takeout because you've had a long day. It sounded thoughtful until I realized he meant he didn't plan to move. I ended up cleaning while waiting for delivery. That night, something in me started to shift. I began quietly tracking everything I did. Laundry loads, meals cooked, bills managed, reminders sent, groceries bought. The list filled pages. The next morning, Ryan asked why I looked so focused on my phone. I told him I was organizing tasks so we could share them better. He waved it off, saying, "No need for that, we just help each other when we can." A few weeks later, one of the utility bills went unpaid. It was one of his responsibilities, but I had always reminded him before. When I didn't, it slipped his mind completely. He apologized, blaming work stress, and I could see how much he hated being caught out. But I didn't lecture him. I just said, "Don't worry, it's handled," and paid the late fee from my account. The irony didn't escape me. He preached teamwork, yet every task that kept our life running came from my side. I stopped leaving sticky notes for him, stopped reminding him about birthdays, car maintenance, and doctor appointments. The silence that followed was louder than any argument we'd ever had. Days turned into quiet routines. Ryan would ask if I'd picked up groceries, and I'd remind him it was his week. He'd look surprised, as if the idea of taking initiative was brand new. His teamwork had always meant I'd fill the gaps before they became visible. Now those gaps were everywhere. Empty fridge, unwashed clothes, unpaid bills. He tried to joke about it once, telling me I was acting like a manager. I didn't respond. Managers lead teams that work together. What we had was an employee doing all the overtime while the other took